everybody. I think you'd figure it out.
I was like, I've never been live before.
Yeah, pretty nerve-wracking. I mean, this is, I think, my fifth time now, and I'm kind of starting to get the hang of it, but
I wish you can do I think you can go live on Facebook, but I wish you can do it like Instagram on your computer. Like I'm always on my phone.
yeah. Yeah. If you don't have a tripod as well, like trying to hold your phone at the same time makes it so much more difficult. So yeah, Instagram definitely needs to hop on that.
I was just like leaned up against like my water bottle. So
No worries. How's your weekend going?
good. Is it where you are?
Yeah. Remind me again. I think you're in. I'm sorry, I can't remember. Where are you in again?
Pickering, but I'm spending the week at my mom's. She just got a new puppy.
Oh, awesome.
So I came to spend time with the dog for the week. I mean, we were all vaxxed up and stuff, so we've been extra safe. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, weird reality we're living in.
but it's
Thank you.
very nice,
Yeah,
sunny, a little bit windy, but it's nice.
yeah. I'm in Hamilton right now, and it's been so rainy all weekend. So it's just been um, so dreary. Definitely looking forward to the summer and the sun coming out and all that. So
It was
yeah,
thing and windy and dark yesterday all day, but
yeah,
anyway.
yeah. So for those of you guys tuning in, this is Ashley. Um, Ashley, do you want to do a little intro? Let us know where you're from and who you are.
Yeah, I can do that. So essentially, I came from this little town named Cornwall. I don't know if any of you know where it is, but after high school, I just went into 2 years social work program in college just because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and I knew I wanted to do something in regards to helping people, but
Mhm.
I didn't want to spend a lot of money and move away if I wasn't positive. So I originally took social work, and throughout the program, I was kind of like this isn't fun enough for me. Like,
Right.
I'm great and everything, but it just wasn't creative and fun enough. So while I was in social work, I actually did a placement in long-term care, and they put me with the recreation department due to confidentiality. And excuse my language, but at the time I was kind of pissed off about it. Like I was like, what the heck? Like I'm supposed to be doing social work. Like why am I in rec? And then totally fell in love with it. So after that, I took a year off and worked, and then I was like, I'm gonna look into this more and go back to school for rec therapy. So originally I was going to go to Concordia because it's so close. Like Cornwall is very close to the Quebec border. So I was like,
Okay.
I'm going to go to university in Quebec. Like it'll be 2 hours from home. I can just, come home whenever I want every weekend. But then I was like, oh my God, like OSAP will not work out. So that's how I ended up at Brock, which I absolutely loved and I don't regret for a second. So I took rec at Brock, Rec and Leisure, the program that you're starting soon. So
Yeah.
and I did a focus in therapeutic rec at Brock, and then now this summer I'm finishing up my master's in gerontology through Brock as well. So hopefully maybe I'll be done school or I'll be one of those people who's a student forever. So
That's awesome.
that's where I'm at, just trying to finish this degree.
It's funny, the common conversation and topic that's come up a lot with these lives is that we kind of accidentally find recreation, like whether or not it's what we initially wanted or initially signed up for. We kind of land in it, and then it ends up being like the best thing ever, right?
I think recently it's been starting to get a little bit more popular and advocated for, but still needs some work, still need to keep going, which is what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
Um, I was hoping that you might talk a little bit about the difference in, this is off our list here, so I apologize, but the difference in like why you went for your master's instead of your bachelor's.
for sure. So getting a little personal here, when I was at Brock is like super awesome, and they kind of like analyze like a lot of your grades and what's going on throughout your like education lifespan. And after first year, which I actually got exempted from a year, so I got my degree in 3 years. So after my first year, which was technically second year, if that makes any sense to anybody, they were like, okay, like, why is this girl getting so high marks on papers but so low on exams? So they gave me a grant to get a psych ed assessment done, and they found that I actually had 3 learning disabilities, which is like so crazy, because I was like, how did I graduate college and I'm in, like, being successful in university and stuff? So anyway, in regards to that, I was thinking about writing my CTRS exam, but I was like, I don't know if I'll pass it in regards to it being an exam, and I do so poorly on exams. So I just thought that instead of writing my CTRS exam, I would do my master's instead, and maybe give me that one step ahead instead of, again, writing the big exam. But now that I'm in my master's, I'm kind of thinking about trying to tackle the exam. So
Yeah, yeah, I know that you've said that before, and I think that's just such a, it's funny how you can go your whole life not knowing something, and then, you land in university and they're like, oh, actually, you have all of these,
it was so crazy.
learning things, right?
I was so
Yeah.
like, a lot of it, like, I knew that I wasn't the best at math, but the other stuff was more like memory processing and stuff, and I was like, no wonder, like, I can't remember anything for exams. Like, I understood it, I was able to put it in words, but it was just like those multiple choice and exam questions that I was like, I just can't get past these.
Yeah, yeah. I'm definitely a firm believer that not every written exam should be, I find a lot of the times like they try to put people into fish bowls, right? Not everybody can learn or express their understanding in the same way. And definitely as rec therapists, we understand that. But as far as the educational system goes, there's definitely better options that we should be exploring. So,
People say
yeah.
choice questions are easy. I'm like, what is wrong with you? They're so hard.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, right? Just different understanding and different ways of expressing how you understand something. So, yeah. So what setting are you currently working in?
Oh, God. Well, I was in care. I was doing, it was called an activity aid, but it was rec therapy and long-term care. And I love, 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 love long-term care, dementia care, anything that has to do with long-term care is like my true, true, true passion. But when I decided to accept my master's, I moved to Pickering to be with my boyfriend. And so when I moved there, I took a leave of absence from my posting, just because I was going to be in my master's full time. We didn't really know what it looked like. So I'm currently just working just as a caregiver in one person's home. They were very serious about COVID and not spreading, and they only wanted one person coming in and out of their home. So I just go for a couple hours a day and help them out. And it's perfect for my school schedule. And I've learned a little bit more about care just being there, even one care connection and building that rapport with clients just from spending so much time with this family. But definitely heading back to the long-term care world once I graduate. So
Nice, nice. Do you find with the caregiver role you're kind of doing a lot of like personal care as well, or is it kind of recreation focused, or how would you describe, your job duties right now?
both. Like, I do so many things for them. Like, I go grocery shopping, or we just hang out by the pool, or sometimes personal care and hair washing and stuff like that. So it's different, and it's like a second family. Like, oh my God, they're so good to me. I love going there.
That's so sweet.
It's
Yeah,
lovely.
good, very good. Do you have any advice for people that are looking to get into caregiving?
I think just, again, build that rapport with your client and don't go in there. I know it's easier said than done for some people, shy. Like, I am so out there and I'm just saying how it is. Like, I'm just out and about. But
Yeah.
I think that individuals who are a little more quiet or maybe shy might struggle a little bit, but just be confident. I mean, if you were in their situation, what you would like. For example, like, even giving bed baths, like, I don't want you to clean my back with freezing cold water. Like,
Right.
mindful of what you're doing to individuals and if you would want that done to you. That's my main thing when it comes to caregiving, is really
Yeah.
trying to get to know the person and what they like. I mean, if they like room temperature water or ice water, or just something like, they seem like simple things.
Ice water.
Like, but they seem like so simple things, but they're so important to people who can't necessarily do those things for themselves or need a little extra help. So
Yeah, 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 for sure. That's awesome. Why are you passionate about what you do?
ugh, it's never the same day. Different day all the time. One day, and I mean, I don't mean it like this, but one day I can go into work and I could be their granddaughter, and the next day I can go into work and I could be their just a loved one, or I could be their family member or their wife, and I just it's day twice, and I love that. I I hate repetitive things. I hate repetitive noises. I hate repetitive days. I hate doing repetitive things. Anything repetitive is out of my life. I just, things like that are mindful and creative are just, but, and a big thing in long-term care is that I want to advocate is that we are working in their home. They're not living in our work. So I think a lot of people forget that long-term care is their house. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
somebody coming into your house and yelling and screaming and acting ridiculous? Probably not. So we have to respect that in their room. We can't just go in and start touching all their things in their room and looking at all their pictures, because they might not, like, if you were in your room, you might not like that either, right? So that it's a big
Yeah.
I'm trying to get through, is that we are working in their home. Like, that's the space that they have and they pay for and they reside in.
I'm so glad that you brought that up because that's such a massive point, especially with long-term care. I mean, I work in an adult day program, so I'm not entirely familiar with that, but I know how important it is, especially for personal information. Like if they have, pictures of their grandchildren or something, they might not want to tell you about it. I mean, I'm sure that they would in most circumstances, but just being mindful of the fact that it's their personal space. And yeah, that's such a big, big point.
Even like the long-term care home that I was working at before I accepted my master's, one of the ladies in there that was living in there had pictures on her wall of this girl, and I was like, oh my god, like, I'm friends with her, like, I know her, but due to, again, confidentiality, I couldn't just reach out and be like, hey, like, I'm working in your grandma's room right now. Like, it's just not professional, and they might not want me to.
Yeah.
Kind of breaks that personal boundary in regards to if I was at work and they reached out and, oh, how's my grandma doing? Well, I can't really give that information, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
but no, it's just a good thing to keep in mind throughout the long-term care world. So
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to grab, I think it was Emma's comment. She says, I think that the mindset is what the profession needs right now. They're all humans.
true. Whether you have a diagnosis of anything, you're still a human and you still have your rights and what you want to do, right? What you like and how you want to live your life. So
Right, right. Absolutely. The next question I had, and I know you kind of briefly touched on the social work aspect, was what inspired you to get started on this versus what were you doing before?
yeah, and so I mean, like you mentioned, we all come into rec by accident at some point in our life, which is just great. I wish it was that it didn't have to be that way, but I couldn't agree more that people just stumble upon it and totally fall in love. But just another side note on top of that, other than the social work factor, is that I was actually blessed to have a great grandma until I was like maybe 13 or 14. And I remember she was in a retirement home and she was fine, like no cognitive diagnosis or anything. She actually ended up breaking her hip, so we put her into long-term
No.
of retirement. And I lived like in the country about 30 minutes away from the home, and in the summer I would beg my parents to drive me to the long-term care home so that I could feed her lunch. And like at first parents were like, okay, like, why does our daughter want to hang out at long-term care homes? Like, what's wrong with her? So I think that originally like made me comfortable with going in there. Just some people aren't comfortable with it, which is fine. Like I know, for example, like my brother hasn't learned how to go into a home or deal with individuals who may have a diagnosis of dementia. So he gets a little apprehensive, like when he comes, I mean, before COVID, he would like come and drop me off something at work. And he's like, okay, I'm here. Like, come outside. Like, I don't want to go in. I'm like slowly trying to get him to come in and be more comfortable. And then you get the opposite. Like my little cousin who's like 12, he's like, can I come play cards at your home with your Love that.
Two ends of the spectrum, right? They're either like really, really apprehensive or like tell me everything. That sounds so cool, right?
Yeah. Oh, I just saw Ashley's comment too. No, it does. Yeah, it's a special kind of person for sure. It's the same as in like daycares. I could never work with kids or in a daycare. All like God, but then they'll say the same about me, right? So
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally understand that. My older sister actually works in a daycare, and we talk often about the differences in programming. And I don't know if you can relate to this a lot, but I find that a lot of the negative stigma around recreation therapy is that, oh, you just play games all day, like your job must be so easy. So a lot of the negative stigma that comes with it is, are we programming for kids? Are we programming for seniors? Is it the same? Like, your job must be so easy. All you have to do is come up with games that you can play with kids or with seniors, right? And
not that easy.
yeah, and like Caitlin said, too much high energy too, right? So
the only program that's like a little bit similar is maybe Montessori programs, but they're still tailored to the population that you're implementing them for, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
And even your programming with kids with recreation therapy, you have so many different considerations, right? Whether it's kids on the autism spectrum or, just different considerations, right?
I think of social skills too. Like if you have a person like a kid who has no siblings, well, you're going to focus on social skills, but it's so much different. Like social skills, they're called social skills, working on them in long-term care, but they're completely different. Like it's more, I don't care if my 89-year-old resident shares or not, bigger things to worry about, right? So
if I'm 90 years old, I'm probably not going to want to share anything either, right? Like, let's be real.
Fine.
Yeah.
But
speaking of that, I was hoping that you might share a story that assured you that you were in the right field.
I think, again, the one with feeding my great-grandma lunch was just I was like, this is my home. Like, I'm meant to be. I feel like if you walk into a long-term care home or somewhere, retirement, etc., it could be a school, really, for anybody. I feel like you just get that feeling when you walk in that's kind of like, okay, I belong here. I'm happy here. I'm comfortable. Realistically, I could walk into any long-term care home and make a friend. So, but that's my main one, is about my great grandma. But there's been little ones along the way, just seeing the benefits of what I do in an individual's life. If somebody wasn't speaking and I do some rec with them, and then they decide to speak or do point communication, anything like that. And it's just the little the little things that make it worthwhile, right? So
that's incredible. I like to think of them as little sunshine moments, right? You see the brightness really come out in what you've done, right?
And it's not only for the residents too, it's for their family and their loved ones also. You can make someone's day if their husband is residing in long-term care and you call their wife, right?
Yeah.
God, I haven't talked to him on the phone for years. Even if he just mumbles or says hi or doesn't want to talk, it's the thought that counts. So
yeah, absolutely. And I guess you get to see a lot of that benefit too during the caregiving, right?
Yeah, luckily, the people who I work with, it's a husband and wife, so they're both at home together.
Okay.
It's just so lovely. We want to keep it there as long as we can, but we also love long-term care, so.
Yeah. I'm actually very interested in doing caregiving. With COVID, it's kind of more difficult, but I definitely have a high interest in doing that. So I'm really glad to hear that it's so beneficial and so enjoyable for you.
Check out, I don't know if you heard of it, it's called Cyber Seniors.
Okay.
It's kind of it's a little bit, it's not really caregiving, but it's online, and they kind of set you up with another individual and who's older, obviously, like an older adult, and you teach them like how to use the internet and how to use
Oh.
Facebook and some of the on it. It's really cool. And like I think the one lady wanted to set up an online dating profile. So like Junior helped her out and stuff. Like it's really cool.
Aw.
Check it out. I think it's St. Catherine's actually, so it's fairly close to you and Brock. So
Okay.
but,
Yeah, no, I have a profile set up on care.com. I'm not sure if you've heard of that. This is not sponsored, by the way, but yeah, I find that a lot of it is kind of geared more towards PSW work and a lot of that personal care.
yeah.
And a lot of the interest that I've gotten on it has been, live in or live out care, which is not ideal with COVID right now. But yeah, I'm definitely a cyber senior. It's awesome.
Been caregiver. Like I've always wanted to do that, but just now that I'm only going to be 26, but getting older and thinking about starting a family, etc., I'm kind of like, oh, it's not really ideal to leave my family who I'm currently living with and go live with somebody else.
Yeah. That would be really cool though. That's definitely on my high radar of something that I'd love to do with recreation therapy is to like live and travel with a family.
Yeah.
And go around the world and, be that companion.
No, if I was, not saying I'm too old, but if I was younger, I definitely, that's like a thing that I wish I would have did in the past, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would have been lovely.
So that kind of leads into my next question is if you could work in any recreation therapy setting in the world, where would it be and why?
I mean, obviously long-term care, but
yeah.
Really cool place in the Netherlands. It's called I think it's called Dementia Village, or it might have an actual like crazy name. I don't know. Heard of it. It is so cool. It's like this whole like, it sounds bad, but like this walled-in village, and you can like, they have a grocery store, and the residents who live there pick whatever they want. They don't have to pay, and they can shop. Have like it's like a residential area, but they can't. It sounds bad too, but they can't get out. Like they have cats, like they have birds, everything, like dogs, everything around, sidewalks, little streets, stores, everything. Like it's so crazy. But check that out. I would love to.
I definitely will. Yeah.
In Ontario, but we all know that the Netherlands is a little bit further ahead than us. So.
Yeah, the Netherlands is on my like go-to travel places too. So that would be 2 for 2 there for sure.
Saving money, you and I can go after COVID. So.
All right. If it ever happens.
Yeah, for sure.
Cody asks, do either of you have advice on how to balance personal connection and professional standards in your field of work? This is for all jobs, but it seems very relevant to your field.
Oh gosh. Everything. Just building that personal connection with family and residents themselves, but also you got to leave work at work and home at home. Like, I mean, I'm not one to preach. I think about my residents when I'm at home and what I could do the next day all the time. But as Cody knows, because he lives with me, figure.
Oh, hi, Cody.
But no, it's really important to leave work at work and home at home. And I know sometimes, like I said, easier said than done. And I'm not one to preach it, but you need to participate in rec and leisure on your own time too. So another, like a big thing that I do is adult coloring. I love just throwing on YouTube and doing a coloring page. So, but no, at work and home at home.
I think, like you said, it's easier said than done. I mean, I've only been in the field a few years, but I think that's something that I still definitely struggle with as well, especially if you have a bad day and you know that you're burnt out and you're strung out, trying to go home and leave it and not bring it with you is so hard. Like, it's such a struggle, especially if it's something that like you did wrong or like, a program didn't go your way or something like.
Yeah, but it's the opposite for me too. Like if I'm in a crappy mood leaving work, I'll bring my crappy mood home. But if I'm in a crappy mood going to work, the second I walk through those like long-term care home doors, my crappy mood is gone.
Yeah. I think it's definitely the mindset that like that you have to be that person for your people. And there's no mistake with that. Like, you're going to be the best that you can, right?
I guess that's another part of like the other question you asked about how I knew that I was in the right field. Um,
Mhm.
in the regular world, when I'm not at work, I have no patience at all. Like, drive, turn the corner, like, okay, line at the grocery store, the drive-through, let's go. And like I step into work and like patients just grow. I just have them. but but that's a I guess is the patience part that I knew that I'm in the right field. So
Yeah, I think one of the best pieces of advice I can offer with that, I forget where I heard it, but I can't give any recognition to it, is finding that, that physical cue that you have to leave however you're feeling at the door. So you're walking in the doors to work, you're leaving, you're stomping your feet at the door, everything's leaving.
yeah,
You're leaving work to go home, you're stomping your feet, and you're leaving. Like, finding that physical cue that reminds you, hey, I'm not going to bring this with me to wherever it is that I'm going next, right?
wow, that's a big practice of mindfulness that I'm not very good at, but
Hey, no judgment. I'm terrible at it as well. It's just
I've been trying to
finding that reminder.
get into it, but it's not working for me. I'm too nosy.
We're in this together, no worries.
We're going to the Netherlands. We're just ready to go.
I love that idea of the Netherlands, though. I've never heard of that before. That's really, really neat.
I'll check it out. I'll see. Maybe I can like post the link or something after. You can check it out.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, for sure. That was my next one. Do you have any advice for, and I'm going to take this myself, do you have any advice for new recreation therapy students?
Reach out, reach out, reach out, reach out. Another like if you know anybody who was in the field or in the program before, reach out. Kind of like you and I got together in regards to you going to Brock, and I just reach out and get that information and help from people who have done it. Even for my master's, like me and Ashley, who actually runs Confession of a Rec Therapist, we're like very good friends. We've done our undergrad together. We've done our like placement together, and now we're doing our masters together. And we're in our masters and we're thinking like, okay, like we wish that was people that we can ask questions to, like even if it's something like, hey, did you do this assignment, like how did they mark it,
Mhm.
what did you do with your degree, just something simple. So we kind of set that up in a meeting like a few months ago, saying that, hey, like here's our emails, here's our names, feel free to give it to upcoming students who are in the program next year and the years after, so that they can reach out. It's kind of like a little mentoring like program.
Yeah.
Just again, reach out and don't make your schoolwork, like make it your priority, but still like explore. Like my
Yeah.
Brock is 8 hours from here, and my first year at Brock, I did nothing social. I didn't explore anything in St. Catharines. Like I just sat and I felt like I had to do schoolwork all the time. And the next year I put a little more of my own leisure and recreation life into my life in general, and my marks went way higher just because I wasn't glued to my computer all of the time. It's okay to take time for yourself. It's okay to go out for supper. I mean, obviously we can't right now, but like it's okay to do those things and take a break from school, which I know that my friends are going to be like, what are you talking about? You're preaching that and you never do it. But I'm trying to.
I thought that counts.
But so,
Yeah.
favorite intervention. I don't know. I'm an arts and crafts junkie. I think creative arts is just great. I know I'm sure everybody's heard of paint nights before, and we actually implemented this lady who used to be a painter, and she
Oh, wow.
like mini canvases and everything. I think we pay her like, I don't know how much, like $100, and she comes in for like 3 hours, and all like she does like a paint night with our residents. But no, creative arts, arts and crafts, coloring, anything like that, and then you can integrate music into that too, and you get the best of both worlds. Two birds with one stone. So
I love that paint night idea. That's definitely, that's a great intervention to add in, and it definitely highlights that sense of adulthood too, right? It's, crafts for adults.
yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome.
do like in the winter she'll do like a Christmas one, or the summer she'll do like a bird. Like it's changes,
Nice.
tries to make them not simple, but like still adult, but simple-ish so that they can follow
Yeah.
along. Some of them get frustrated, but
Yeah, yeah. Easy enough with a challenge though, right?
yeah, and it doesn't feel like it's a baby program, you know, like it's not, okay, here's some paint, paint whatever you want. Like, no, you have to follow the rules and the directions.
Yeah.
Then you
Yeah. That's so, so important.
know, but it's
I have a lot of respect for that. I like that a lot, actually. That's really, really great. Um, I think one of the most frustrating parts, and I've talked about this with Adriana's podcast that we did this week, is seeing, seniors and older adults that are working with healthcare professionals and aren't being challenged to their ability, is really kind of not dumbing programs down, but minimizing programs that could be really, really great and just kind of, you know, not really getting to the main goal of the program, right? So,
and another thing just to throw in there is this stigma of like older adults not being able to understand people
yeah,
speaking in baby talk. Okay, like I talk to my new puppy like that. You don't have to talk to
yeah,
an 85-year-old resident like that, you know? Like they're a human. Of course they may have a little bit of cognitive difficulties, but you don't have to speak like that.
no, no, yeah, language is so, so, so powerful.
And again, like
Yeah,
I spoke about the other day, like first person language is like my key. I mean, we all mess up, and hey, I've messed up too and not done it properly, but acknowledging the person above or prior to their disability or diagnosis is just so important. I hate hearing when people don't, when they'll say, oh, like that person has whatever, or they have this, or this is what they're struggling with. Well, you don't know that they're struggling. Like,
right,
if somebody's
exactly.
in a wheelchair, they might not be struggling. They might be perfectly capable of wheeling themselves around because they've been in a wheelchair for 50 plus years. You know what I mean? Like, don't, like, even my client who I bring out sometimes, like, he's a paraplegic, so he's in a wheelchair. And, like, we went for blood work one time, and they're like, oh, well, can he take his jacket off and can we try the other arm? I'm like, I don't know. Like, ask him
Like, ask him, yeah, right?
first. Like, it makes me so mad. Like, he's perfectly fine to answer a question. And you know what? If you ask him and he has struggles, or not him specifically, but if you ask the individual and they may have struggles, okay, then maybe turn to somebody else for a little bit of help. But
Yeah,
it's so annoying. It's just, again, goes into that advocation piece of sticking up for people who may not be able to themselves, and recognizing people as individuals and humans prior to their disability or diagnosis. So,
yeah, yeah. I think the other thing along with that too is, and we run into this a lot with the adult day program, is behaviors. I hate calling them behaviors, but behaviors, um, or disrespect towards other clients. And I think as recreation therapists, sometimes we're afraid to be the person that corrects it or, intervenes and says like, hey, no, like you don't get to talk to people like that, between two clients. Yes, they do have, different cognitive or, behaviors, but that doesn't mean that it's not our job to intervene and say, hey, no, we don't treat each other with disrespect. And it's being that advocate also for them, but towards them too. And you know, if they leave the building or they leave the long-term care home and, they're talking to other people like that, it's treating them with respect, but also, letting them know, hey, in the real world and, outside our doors, you can't treat people like that,
yeah,
right? So,
sure. And you also don't want to be like, be like a teacher or a preacher, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
hard to build that balance. Like, another example is like when I was younger, I was a manager at McDonald's, and like I was like, I don't know, like 19 or 20 at the time, and I had older ladies or men who were working there, and technically I was their boss. And like, what do I say to this like 50-some-year-old lady? Like, okay, go clean the toilets. Like, that's so disrespectful. Like, so I end up doing it, and then my boss is like, okay, why are you doing that? Like, you're the boss. Like, and I was not good at delegating tasks to people who are older than me. And like, it's hard being in long-term care, working and stuff. You don't want to boss people around, I guess is how I would word it.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard not to be the dictator, but also to kind of, be the person that's in charge at the same time. So, yeah.
Are their mediator, and you're looking out for their safety in regards to
Yeah.
a fight breaking out, because that tends to happen. But hey,
Yeah.
one day.
It's definitely one of those, under talked about things with recreation therapy and being the delegate and being the one that's providing safety and everything for all group members. Um, yeah, it's difficult.
I remember doing a placement at the Royal Ottawa Mental Health Hospital, or Center, I guess it's called now. And I was on geriatric inpatient. So these individuals had a diagnosis of a mental illness and dementia or cognitive impairment of some kind. And
Right.
they stressed, like, no matter what program you're in, make sure you are the closest one to the door. And I'm like, what,
Yeah, yeah.
you old ladies, like older men? Like, I'm like, no way. And I was like, oh my God, sometimes I was so grateful that I was closest to the door.
Yeah. You just never know what's going to happen, right?
And you have to keep that in mind too. Like, people think, oh, long-term care, like you said, you just go in and play games and have fun. But nah, there's a lot more to it than that, which is,
Right.
again, what we're advocating for today, right? So,
And I think it's one of those kind of situations that you'll never really understand either until you're in them and you have that experience. It's so valuable to be on the inside of that, right?
tell me about it.
Oh, so I guess advice for new recreation students is be prepared for everything.
Keep your eyes open.
Yeah, for sure.
No.
Um, I wanted to do a question around COVID, and I know you kind of touched on that briefly as far as working one-to-one with your client. But is there any other specific changes that have happened since COVID as far as your programming goes or life in general?
Uh, well, a big thing is like that communication prior to when I was like still in long-term care and didn't take my leave of absence is they, due to COVID, like they may not have understood FaceTime, that their loved ones is through the screen and they can talk to them, things like that. And people just automatically assume like, oh, she'll be fine or they'll be fine when they talk to their family, but that triggers some residents. Like,
Yeah.
some don't want to see their family unless it's in person and they're with them. Like, some don't understand that they're through excuse me, but off that they can see a screen and not in person.
Yeah.
Like a tease, especially if you don't really cognitively understand what's going on. Another thing is like the masks. Like, they're like, why are you wearing that? Take it off. And I'm like, I can't. Like, what do you mean? And I'm like, everybody's wearing them in grocery stores. And they're like, no, they're not. Like, you're lying. So I think a big thing too, which I know that they're expensive, but is the masks that are kind of clear at the mouthpiece. Um,
Right.
just because, like, if you have an individual who reads lips or who's hard of hearing, they might rely on reading lips or seeing your smile or seeing your body language through your expressions, which is hard when half your mouth is covered, right? So,
Yeah, for sure. My boss and I have actually come up with this funny gimmick as far as the mask go, and it's like, read my eyebrows, like, right? We're getting so, clever with different interventions as far as that goes. But yeah, the masks and the Zoom fatigue and everything along that, yeah, I totally resonate with, especially with seniors and everything like that, right?
like, I bet it's hard on family members too. Like, they're trying to do what's best for their loved ones, and they sometimes just assume that, oh, they'll be happy after I FaceTime with them, but it might cause distress or, like you said, we hate to say behaviors, but behaviors.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but no, that's the main thing, is just that body language, expression piece, language piece is just so important with any profession, really, not just with us. But
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
yeah.
What is a fun fact about you that not many people know about?
Oh, I don't know. I was I've been looking at this question for like a few days, and like me and Adam spoke about it, and like I wanted somebody else to come up with something because I just don't know. Like, the only one I have is that, like, everybody knows, but I'm like a junk food fanatic. I don't eat anything unless it's bad for me, essentially. But I guess I'm pretty crafty. Like, I know that I said arts and crafts were my main intervention program, but I don't know. I really find, like, I hate painting, but anything other than painting, whether it be like drawing or I do calligraphy on my iPad. I have like God knows how many coloring books. So I guess I'm artsy or craftier than people think, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. I think that, having that creative side of yourself really, highlights that creative part of being a rec therapist too, right? You're able to bring that in and come up with different wild ideas for programming and whatnot, right?
I was first getting into rec, like I was explaining it to my mom. She's like, "What are you going to university for?" But you do, like, this is how it is. And she's kind of like, that's kind of perfect for you. Like, you don't get embarrassed. I have no idea what embarrassment is. Like, what is embarrassment? No idea. But I'm not, like, she's like, you're right. Like, the residents will love that because you can be goofy and realistically, they won't really necessarily remember what happened the day before. Well, not, but they can be like, if you got embarrassed or if you said something, you just start fresh the next day. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's definitely a goofy side or an outgoing or I don't know, hyper. Maybe I'm too, I don't know. I know that Caitlin mentioned that kids have too much energy, but maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I have too much.
You just encourage it, right?
Oh my God. Like, even like the PSWs that I was working with sometimes would be like, okay, like, you want to get your pajamas on? I'm like, what do you mean? No, like, we're having a dance party, like, no pajamas, like. And they're like, you're usually asleep by now. I'm like, not tonight, like, I don't care.
That's awesome.
But no, we have fun for sure.
That's really, really great. Like I said, I think that those fun parts of ourselves definitely separate us from the rest. So
Yeah, for sure. You can't be shy in this job for sure.
no, 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 definitely. That definitely goes along with the other like advice for recreation therapy students is if, embarrassment or being out there or making yourself look stupid is not for you, I don't know. Yeah, you definitely have to be very outgoing.
Even on holidays, like, you got to dress up, you got to look funny.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And definitely, get used to not understanding certain things. Like I mess up all the time at work. I say stupid things that I don't know anything about because I wasn't alive. I've done a lot of private research on, older music and, current events that I wasn't here for and, and I still mess up all the time and it's just, it's a constant learning process, right?
Yeah, well, I think half my Apple Music is all like music from like the 20s and 30s and 40s. And half my closet is probably like attire from holiday costumes or God knows what else I have in there. So
Yeah, I definitely have a few very, very tacky theme pants. Like I have St. Patrick's Day pants and I wear them around sometimes and everyone's like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, what? Oh, like I'm sorry, but not sorry.
I hate to stop for groceries after work because people would be like, what the heck do you do? Like,
100%, 100%. And I think one of the things that I never considered too is up until the last like year or so, I was busing to work. So I would like sometimes wear half of my, outfits or whatever to work and don't mind me.
so grateful that I have a car there. But even
Yeah.
like cup of coffee going through the drive-through, I'm like, oh God, don't look at what I'm wearing.
It's all good. It's all part of the fun that we have though, right?
Oh, for sure. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for meeting with me. I don't know if anybody has any other questions or you have any other comments that you want to add about everything. But
Yeah, for sure. I think you're coming back on Thursday night, right? With Ashley?
yes.
Ah,
Yes. Yep.
good.
Yeah.
Okay. Tuning it in. She'd be.
All right. Awesome. Thanks so much, Ashley. Have a great rest of your day.
No worries. Have a good weekend.
Take care. Bye, everyone.